Your bank account shows $10,000 right now at this very moment, but that money isn't sitting in a vault with your name on it. It doesn't exist in the way you think it exists at all, really. And if enough people realize this fact at the exact same time, everything collapses. This isn't a conspiracy theory or some dark web financial secret you stumbled upon. It's just how the system was designed to work from the very beginning, unfortunately. The scary part is that your bank can lose your money completely legally. They can watch it disappear, and there's nothing dishonest about what they did wrong. Because technically, they never promised to keep it in the first place at all. Let me show you how this works and why it should bother you. Here's what most people believe happens when you deposit money into your account. You hand over cash or transfer funds and the bank stores it safely forever. When you need it back, you withdraw it and you get the same money. Simple, safe, logical. Exactly how a storage facility would work with your furniture, honestly. But banks aren't storage facilities, and that model hasn't existed for over a century. The moment your paycheck hits your account, the bank does something quietly with it. They lend most of it out to someone else within hours or days usually. Someone buying a house gets a loan funded partially by your checking account balance. Someone starting a business gets capital that used to be sitting in your name. And the wild part is your account balance still shows the full amount there. You see $10,000 and the bank tells you it's available right now. But they also told the borrower that same money is theirs to spend immediately. So now that $10,000 exists in two places at the exact same time, this isn't fraud and it isn't a glitch in the system at all, my friend. This is called fractional reserve banking, and it's been standard practice since 1913. Let me explain this concept like you're 5 years old but without the condescension. Imagine you and 9 friends each give me $1 to hold safely overnight. I now have $10 in total that you all think is waiting there. But I notice that historically only one person ever asks for their dollar back daily. So I lend out $9 to someone else and keep one in reserve. Now I owe you all $10, but I only have $1 physically here. As long as only one person asks for their money back, everything works perfectly. But if 2 people show up asking for their dollar at the same time, I can't pay you both because I only kept $1 in the vault. This is exactly how your bank operates every single day of the year. They're required to keep only a small fraction of deposits actually on hand nearby. In the United States, that reserve requirement used to be around 10% historically speaking. 0% reserve requirement means banks don't have to keep anything at all technically. They can lend out 100% of your deposits if they want to. Your money is simultaneously in your account and in someone else's mortgage payment today. Now you might be thinking this sounds insane, but it hasn't collapsed yet. And you're right, because the system relies on one critical psychological element entirely: trust. Or more specifically, the belief that not everyone will ask for money simultaneously. Banks operate on the assumption that mass panic will never happen in their lifetime. But history shows us that this assumption fails more often than you'd think. Let's talk about what happens when that trust breaks down even just a little. It's called a bank run, and it's every financial institution's absolute worst nightmare. Picture this. Rumors spread that a bank might be in trouble financially somehow. Doesn't even have to be true, but people hear the whisper and get nervous. A few customers show up to withdraw their money just to be safe today. Other customers see the line forming and think something must be wrong here. More people join the line, and now there's a crowd outside the building entrance. The bank has maybe 10% of deposits available in cash right now, maximum. So after they pay out that 10% to the first customers, everything stops. The next person in line gets told, "Sorry, we don't have your money available." That person panics and tells everyone behind them that the bank is out now. Now you have hundreds of people who can't access their own money at all. The bank didn't steal it, and they didn't lose it through bad investments either. They lost it by doing exactly what they were designed to do always. This isn't a theoretical problem from the Great Depression era history books anymore. Silicon Valley Bank collapsed in March 2023 using this exact mechanism. They had billions in deposits, and they were a major player in tech startup. But when customers started withdrawing money faster than expected, everything unraveled within 48 hours. The bank had invested deposits in long-term bonds that lost value badly. When they needed cash to cover withdrawals, they had to sell those bonds. Selling at a loss meant they didn't have enough money to pay everyone back. Within 2 days, the 16th largest bank in America was completely gone forever. Customers with more than $250,000 lost. Access to everything above. Payroll companies couldn't pay. Employees and startups couldn't access their operating capital funds. This wasn't a heist or embezzlement scheme or fraud of any kind, actually. This was the fractional reserve system working exactly as designed under pressure ultimately. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable for anyone paying attention to the details. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation insures deposits up to $250,000. This insurance makes people feel safe and prevents panic most of the time. But the FDIC doesn't have enough money to cover every deposit in America, not even close to covering the total amount if multiple banks failed simultaneously. As of 2024, the FDIC has roughly $120 billion in reserves. Total insured deposits in the United States exceed $9 trillion right now today. That's less than 2 cents of actual backing for every dollar they've insured. The FDIC operates on the same assumption as banks do with their deposits constantly. They assume not everyone will need their money back at the exact same time. It's fractional reserve insurance protecting fractional reserve banking in a circular loop, basically. The system only works because we collectively believe it will work every single day. Let's zoom out and look at what this means for your actual money. When you see your bank balance, you're not looking at money anymore, really. You're looking at a promise and a probability calculation that the bank made. The promise is that they'll give you cash when you ask for it. The probability is that you won't ask at the same time as everyone else. Most of the time, this arrangement works fine and nobody thinks about it. You swipe your card and money moves from one account to another seamlessly. But the system has a hidden fragility built into its foundation from the start. It works perfectly right up until the moment it doesn't work at all suddenly. And when it fails faster than regulators can respond to the crisis. Silicon Valley Bank went from stable to insolvent in less than 2 days total. That's not enough time for government intervention or emergency legislation to pass through. By the time people realized what was happening, it was already over completely. There's another layer to this that makes the situation even more interesting, honestly. Banks don't just lend your deposits out for mortgages and business loans anymore. They invest in complex financial instruments like bonds, derivatives, and securities packages too. These investments can lose value quickly when interest rates change or markets shift. When banks need liquidity fast, they're forced to sell these investments at losses. Those losses get deducted from the pool of money that backs your deposits. Again, this isn't theft or criminal activity of any kind whatsoever in reality. This is banks trying to maximize profit using your deposits as their capital. You earn maybe 0.5% interest on your savings account right now. The bank lends that same money out at 6 or 7% interest rates. The difference is their profit, and that's how banks make money every single day. But that profit motive creates incentive to take risks with your deposits always. The more risk they take, the more profit they can potentially make for shareholders. And if those risks go bad, you're the one who ends up losing access. Now let's address the obvious question you're probably asking yourself right now. If this system is so fragile, why hasn't it completely collapsed already permanently? The answer is a combination of government intervention and collective willful ignorance together. When banks fail, regulators step in and either bail them out or merge them. They do this to prevent panic from spreading to other banks in the system. The message is always the same. Your money is safe and don't worry at all. And most of the time people believe it because they want to believe it. The alternative is too uncomfortable to think about for more than a few minutes. If you truly believed your bank could lose your money tomorrow, what would you do? Would you withdraw everything and keep cash under your mattress at home instead? Would you move it to another bank that operates under the exact same rules? Would you buy gold or Bitcoin or some other asset that feels more real? Most people do nothing because doing nothing is easier than confronting the risk honestly. Here's the really uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to say out loud ever. The modern banking system is essentially a controlled hallucination that we all participate in. Money in your account is real as long as everyone believes it's real. The moment that belief cracks, the entire structure starts to crumble underneath immediately. And banks know this, which is why they spend so much on stability branding. They build marble lobbies and advertise security and use words like trust and integrity. It's all designed to maintain the psychological illusion that your money is safe there. But strip away the marketing and you're left with a simple mathematical truth instead. Your bank has lent out most of your money in hopes you won't need it. If you do need it, they hope not too many other people need it. And if too many people need it at once, the system fails and regulators intervene. That's the deal, and you never explicitly agreed to it when you opened an account. So what happens next, and where does this system go from here ultimately? Some people argue that digital currencies and blockchain technology could fix this eventually. The idea is that decentralized systems can't have bank runs if there's no bank. But those systems have their own problems with volatility and security that are significant. Others say the current system is fine and has worked for over a century. They point to FDIC insurance and regulatory oversight as proof of its stability overall. But that argument ignores the fact that the system requires constant intervention to survive. Every few years we have a crisis that requires bailouts or emergency measures immediately. 2008 required trillions in government intervention to prevent total collapse globally. 2023 required emergency measures to stabilize regional banks across the country. At what point do we admit the system isn't stable on its own? Here's what you should take away from all of this information right now. Your bank account balance is not a pile of cash sitting in a vault. It's a ledger entry that represents a promise backed by partial reserves only. That promise is strong as long as everyone else believes in it too. But the moment collective belief wavers, the promise can evaporate incredibly fast, almost instantly. This doesn't mean you should panic and withdraw all your money tomorrow morning. It means you should understand what your bank balance actually represents in reality. You should know that the system is designed to work most of the time. But most of the time isn't the same thing as all of the time. And when it fails in ways that are completely legal and predictable. Your bank can lose your money without stealing it because the system allows it. They can lend it out and invest it and watch it disappear in losses. And at the end of the day, you're left hoping the government will step in. The question isn't whether this system is good or bad or right or wrong. The question is whether you understand the risk you're taking by participating in it. Because right now, at this very moment, your money is out there somewhere else. It's funding someone's mortgage or sitting in a bond that's losing value or moving.